What's up, everybody? It's your girl Porsche coming to you guys from Prison from the Inside Out, Inc. Today I have a good friend, Ladaro Pennix. Ladaro's been serving a long time behind the walls of California Department of Corrections, 25 years to be exact, going on 26 years this year, late in the year. I'll go ahead and give Ladaro the floor so we can go ahead and hear exactly what he has to tell all of us.
Well, thank you. Well, I came in here as a kid. I've been incarcerated since I was 16. And I'm incarcerated for 2 murders, 2 attempted murders, and 10 robberies. As a youth, I was one of those individuals who always felt the need to prove themselves. And I believe that I adopted that personality based on the fact of my own upbringing. I had a very traumatic upbringing. In fact, it was damning, very, to the point to where my father was even arrested for some of the abuse that he did. And, I grew up in a home where my mother was repeatedly beaten. I was repeatedly beaten. There was even molestation in the home from my father. And so when I would go out into the world, I don't know, you could call it confusion or whatever else. I was trying to find my identity out there.
Okay.
And so when I latched on to gangs, it became a new identity to where I found myself fearless. And, there's no rules.
Right.
And so except the street code. And so I wasn't judged. I wasn't abused. Not in the way that I was accustomed to being abused.
Right.
And so that became me, and it became a distinction of my identity. I really took on that identity. Back then, I used to stutter real bad, so I didn't talk that much, but I was always a pretty good fighter. A lot of people in my family, they're into martial arts and et cetera, so they made sure that I was in those particular classes and et cetera.
So you didn't have to talk much because you had the action to back it up, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. So I was the type of kid that like this. Everybody would call me their cousin or their brother or some type of family member to get me to beat up the bully. So I had everybody named black kids, Mexican kids, white kids coming up to me saying, "Can you tell them we're related, we're cousins, we're stepsisters, whatever." And that was me. I've always had this thing of protecting people. And I believe that I had that mentality based on the fact that I wasn't protected when I was a kid.
Right.
And when I realized that I had the ability to actually defend myself, I wanted to protect everybody. And so that's always been my mentality. Because of that, with one of my crimes, that's how one of my crimes began.
One of the crimes that you're currently incarcerated for, or one of the crimes that beforehand?
One of the crimes that I'm currently incarcerated for.
Okay.
And
I'm sorry, you said you were what, 16 when you first?
I was 16.
Okay.
Yes. They called me and informed me that they were threatened, and here comes Mr. Superhero, Captain Save Everybody. That I show up and things didn't turn out the way that we had hoped. And at the end of the day, let me say this before I even go into detail. I take full accountability of everything that I've ever done.
Okay.
When I first came into the system, I denied everything. I'm not this. I didn't do that. The majority of the prisoners go through that phase.
Right.
But it's a moment of clarity, or it's a moment in your life that you say, you know what? I got to stop lying to myself, in which you you inherit this ability to not lie to the world. And so I know what I've done, and one of the most damning things as well is that realizing that I've taken lives, realizing that I contributed in taking lives.
Right.
That's probably one of the worst things that a man or human being could ever do to another human being. And I am truly apologetic for that. I am, there's a ripple effect that happens when you commit a crime. One of the ripple effects is that not only do you hurt that individual, but you hurt his family, or you hurt her family. You don't know if they have kids. You don't know if they have a mother or father. You don't know if they have cousins and aunties. And then it trickles down. What about the people in the community?
Right.
How you terrified that community by them gunshots. I'm quite sure people in those households, in each individual household, ducked for cover,
right,
hoping that they would not be hit by a bullet. Now they felt unsafe. What about the businesses within that community? Now the economic value has went down based on the fact that nobody wants to come to that side of the town.
Right.
And that's like, I have to live with this. I have to live with this.
At least you opened up the spectrum wide enough to, look that deep into it, because I don't think a lot of people do. I've never had, and I interview a lot of people, I've never had someone break it down as in depth as you just went.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll say this, it's a fact. And I think that if you don't look into that, if you don't look at that ripple effect, then I don't think that you could really appreciate the magnitude of the terror that you created within your community. I was speaking to some youngsters the other day, and I told them that it's crazy how people are in gangs, right? Mm-hmm. And they profess to love their gang, they love their city, they love their hood. Yet they terrorize the very thing that they love.
Correct.
Is that not domestic violence?
It definitely is a form of it, because absolutely, what you just said is a pure fact.
Exactly. And that's what it trips me out, because I don't understand. Like, if you look at your hood, let's just say, let's take any gang. First, they're beating each other up all day, every day.
Right.
They're killing each other on the low all day, every day.
Right.
Then they go within their community and kill each other. Then they go and terrorize by robbing stores within their community, destroying their community's property, doing graffiti. They're not painting the stores to make it look nice so they can get more service so that the economy can grow, and etc. They're damning that community.
Right.
And that's why I always say that a ghetto only becomes a ghetto when the people in the community give up on each other. And we have given up on each other repeatedly over and over and over again in every community, in every inner city. And that's the sad part. But that's the type of mentality that I embraced when I was a kid.
Right. That is what you think led you to your incarceration?
What led me to my incarceration was me allowing the influence of the gang culture to define my purpose and my path in life. When you're a kid, you don't have your own identity. When you're a kid, you're looking for a way. You're trying to find yourself. And if you don't know who you are, you're looking for the first thing that seems tough, or the first thing that seems confident. And mind you, when I was at home, I was broken. I was reduced to the lowest common denominator. I was a punching bag. I was other things. It was sad. Right. And so when you step outside the home, you're looking for strength, because you don't feel strong in your own home. You feel weak. And so I looked for that foundation of strength. And so by me going out there into the world, into that culture, it developed something in me. It desensitized me on a lot of stuff. Sometimes I found myself living in a fantasy. I didn't believe I could ever get caught. I didn't believe that I could ever die. There was times like...
Well, most 16-year-olds, I don't think they have a full grasp on life and death. They might have experienced it and seen, people die, friends die, family members die. But I personally, from my own life, I cannot speak for yours, don't think at 16 I had the grasp of death as I do as an adult.
I agree. I agree.
You know what I
No,
mean?
I'm with
So
you
it's
there.
okay to live. I mean, it's not, I'm not going to say it's okay, but it is, I think, reasonable for you to explain that that was your outlook as a 16-year-old on the way that you lived recklessly, because Lord knows, anybody that know me know as 16-year-old, I was reckless, okay?
Mm.
So, you know, totally different person than who I am right now.
Absolutely. I get it. I truly get it. You know, you're absolutely right. You know, again, I understand in certain reason or reasonings or logic that I had back then, that why I thought the way that I thought. You know, I was an adolescent, but you know, I still, for me, on a personal scale, it's hard for me, and I refuse to negate the fact that what I did was barbaric and ruthless.
Okay.
Everything that I did out there was barbaric and ruthless. And I try every day to be conscious of that, because today I live contrast to that of who I once was. You know, today I live with integrity. Today I live with a purpose. Today I live to do better every day. Today I live to help my fellow man. Today I live to just be the best me that I can be. You know, I believe that by being the best me that I can be, I can contribute to the world in a better way. And so that's where my mind state is at. You know,
okay. Very well said.
Thank you.
So I'm going to ask you where I know you said you are down for 2 murders?
Two murders, 2 attempted murders, and 10 robberies.
Okay. And were they youth, the victims?
No, they were all adults.
Okay. So I'm going to just briefly ask you to kind of explain like what exactly happened.
Okay, well, when it came to the situation with my loved ones, or my ex-associates, I had these homegirls who were in trouble. They were selling drugs, and in another rival gang's territory, they came to them and told, and I guess their product was better, they told them that if they continue to sell drugs in their territory, they were going to shoot them in the head.
Oh, wow.
My homegirls got scared. They called me immediately. They called me. I rush over there. Now, based on the fact that I grew up in this neighborhood, I was having the intention of talking to these individuals because I knew them.
Right.
They knew me. But when I went over there to talk, the individual who I talked to was very influential in that community, and in that community of gang culture. And so as we began to talk, his homies started coming out. They got deep. The more deeper they got, the more animated he became.
Right.
The more animated he became, the more animated I became. Mind you, I stutter, so I get mad when I stutter. And so, well, I used to stutter. So then I started seeing them pulling out screwdrivers and other stuff, and that was a wrap.
It just became a whole different kind of show because because of peers.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, that was that crime. The second crime was, and these next 2 crimes are very sad. The second crime was a liquor store robbery. That just went wrong. I used to smoke Sherm out there. That was our drug of choice back then.
Right.
And, you know, I go in there, I go rob the place, and when he hands me the money, he moved fast. And I guess my mind didn't catch that. And I jumped and I shot him.
Okay.
And he did not make it.
Okay.
The last one, the last 2 attempted murders were also liquor store robberies. Another robbery, and oh my God. I don't want to dismiss this because I want the effect. I don't want it to sound like it's just me just telling the story, but I want you guys to really understand and feel that what I did, the impact is it's deplorable. Everything that I did was deplorable, and I really want to express this in the right way and do it justice. I went into the store with the intentions to rob the store. when they handed the money as they were going in the back. Someone else ran back in the back. And as he was running back in the back, I shot at him. When I shot at him, I hit two people that was in front of me. And that they went down. I ran out the store.
These were like two people that were just shopping, or?
No, they were working in the store as well.
Okay.
And so I was trying to hit the guy that was running in the back because I thought he was finna go get a gun or call the police,
right,
etc.
Right.
And so that's what happened.
And those were the attempted murders?
Those were the attempted murders. Thank God they survived.
Right. Amen. So, so basically, the charges that you're incarcerated for are from a span of multiple cases.
Yeah, within a month's period.
Oh, so like at that time, at your age bracket, you had just like was kind of like wilding.
Exactly. What had happened was this. I had before coming to jail on this case, I was locked up, I believe, from 92 to 94. I started off in a placement, and then I ended up going to YA.
Mm-hmm.
When I got out of during my stint in YA, my father ended up passing.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
No, he was a
I know
bastard.
you said that he had a lot of stuff going on, but yeah.
And he was a pedophile, and so and that's the thing that trips me out, because for me, I don't understand how I could still love that man and grieve that man even after all the stuff that he did to me. And so I think that I was more confused because he passed away when I was still 15 while I was in YA. Right. And so I'm sitting there and I'm confused because I don't understand why I feel this way. Most normal people would be like, I don't care, I hate this guy, et cetera, et cetera. I couldn't get that out of my heart or my head.
Maybe because, as a human, even though there was a level of abuse factored into your household, this man still was who had raised you as your father. So I think, for any normal child, and at 15, that's the child, right, that is a normal response. You have been hurt by the things that he done, but this man still is your father.
Right. And I get that now. Back then, I couldn't process why I was feeling the way that I was feeling. And so I went into a state of lashing out. And I became even more ingrained and latched onto the gang culture.
Okay.
So by the time I got out, my whole mentality was gang culture. Right. It wasn't about progressing. It wasn't about getting better. It wasn't about being somebody after YA. It was about being the best gang member of all, being the worst of the worst, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that's what I got lost in. So when I came out there, I was, simply put, I was a terrorist, because I terrorized my community. I terrorized other people's community. And in some ways, I wanted to die. I remember there were a few times when people would run up on me and individuals that I was with a gun, and I would reach out and snatch the gun. And who does that?
Right.
Any logical individual would put his hands up.
Right.
Or try to run.
You weren't scared, pretty much.
Exactly. I lived in a delusional mentality, believing that I could not die. I was lost in my own sickness. And then even if I could die, I wanted to die anyway.
Do you think that incarceration saved you?
Absolutely. I would have been dead a long time ago. I know this for a fact. And I wouldn't have been able to reach my potential. I don't even think I'm even close to my potential, but the potential that I've reached thus far, I am so grateful that I'm alive to see this. Because now I know what I was capable of.
Right.
And now I know what I am capable of today.
So I want to ask you, with all the charges that you were convicted of, what is your sentence?
My sentence is 4 life sentences plus 74 years.
And I know that in the last few years, reform has grown quite a bit. So clearly, you said you were a youth when this occurred. Have you been affected by any of the new bills or anything that has changed over the years to give you um, some slack on that sentence?
Oh, absolutely. One, they have changed the whole process of the youth offender parole. And so initially it was just a regular parole that I would go to. Just as my counsel once told me, they said that on a normal basis of parole, they would have never let me out. But now that they have a youth offender parole, they now give great weight to our youthful mentality, our diminished culpability, and et cetera, our growth and development. And because of this, it allows them to look at us differently and judge us differently. And so now I actually have a chance of actually seeing freedom again. And that's a blessing.
You recently went for board, and we'll have another opportunity to go up to board again. How do you think, just reflecting back on everything said and how you've grown, how do you think, or what kind of information do you think that you could give to your brothers and or sisters who could be in a similar prediction or going to board soon? What kind of advice or information can you give them?
Okay, well, one of the main things that I would stress is discover who you are, learn your truth, and then live that truth. Because they're going to see you for who you are. Words can only go so far. They're going to look at everything that you've accomplished. They're going to look at how you're speaking. They're going to look at the body language. They're going to even look at the aura that you give off, because we all give off an aura. And
Absolutely.
So once you tap in to that knowledge of self, you become a manifestation of your true self. And by doing that, you're able to be exactly how God intended you to be, And so I feel like, in my opinion, that's one of the main things. Second, get into every program you can get into. Do not play games with your life. This is your life, and this is your freedom.
Yes.
Every program matters. I don't care if it's a acting class. I did a thing called Actors Gang, and by doing Actors Gang, I'll give you an example. So when I went in there to the parole board, they said, well, how does Actors Gang, how did that change your life? And so I gave them a scenario. I said, one of the best things about Actors Gang is that it teaches you something from the beginning. I said, in the beginning, they tell you to make the perfect circle. They say they want you to make the perfect circle. Do not look at anyone else. Only see how you can make this circle better. And so by doing that, I realized that for me, it's not about me fixing everybody around me. It's about fixing me. Right. If I can fix me first, then I can get it right. And so when I told them that, they were very stunned and they were very satisfied with my answer. But this is the thing, that stuff like this is what matters. These are all learning tools. It's kind of like reading a book. Mm-hmm. Have you ever read, like, let's just say a mystery or a thriller or action? Every time you read a book, there's something you learn. He may say a phrase or some type of sentence, and it'll just provoke your mind.
Right.
All of a sudden, you got this new knowledge. Well, every program that you're a part of, you obtain new knowledge. So this will give you the ability to apply that new knowledge and walk a better step, walk a better way.
Okay. So I do this in general because there's like this huge bridge between, the communities, the incarcerated community in the free world. And is there anything that you just, information wise, want to put out there so people that have not experienced the criminal justice system for themselves, they don't have a loved one or a family member, someone that if they did have, that they would have a better understanding of, California Department of Corrections, the rehabilitation process or the lack of rehabilitation that occurs within, anything that you feel would be important for people to know.
Okay. I'll start with this. I spent 17 years in solitary confinement, and in the process, it really transformed my life. The reason why it transformed my life is because it was such a devastating a chapter of my life. Back then, the lack of reform, it was so bad. Oh my God. We used to get beaten handcuffs. They would mess with our food. They would not let our mail go out. We were treated literally like the lowest form of an animal, and we had no respect. And so it was something that was very traumatic. I will say this, that what saved me was family. If you have a family member that's in this environment, support them.
Absolutely.
A single letter goes a long way because it shows custody that individual is not alone. And if that individual is not alone, they cannot get away with doing most of the stuff that they do to.
That's correct.
They can't stand that. That's one. Two, if you call up there, do not accept their facts of what's going on or their answer of what's going on. You talk to your loved one because they know how to play games. They utilize psychological warfare. They know us, so they know how to toy with us, and etc. So again, family support is everything. When it comes to reform, I'll say this: since me coming in here as a kid to now, everything has changed dramatically or drastically. It's been funny because when I came in here, education I was not getting. There was a long waiting list. You was not going to get in there to at least 2 to 3 years.
Wow.
Now, there's so many opportunities for academics. Like I've been on the dean's list for the last 2 years, and I love this now. You're getting all these great things and these great opportunities, and they're now encouraging you to get into academics. They're walking around making sure that other people get into certain programs, because when it comes to reform, when it comes to rehabilitation, they realize that it is more promising and that a person picks up a book and learns something than it would be to jeopardize their life and jeopardize our lives. So that's a good thing in itself. Don't get me wrong, you still have certain custodies that are just full of it, right? And will provoke you, and they still are down with the old school mentality. But what I love about the programs is that it teaches you how to avoid those individuals. It teaches you how to deflect those individuals. It teaches you that everything is just a moment. So do not take what they're doing or saying to heart at that moment, because it is just a moment. So that's what I do love about those programs. They give you more tools to defend and to navigate your life.
Okay. So in closing, I just want to let you all know that the man that just spoke he's very prolific inside of California Department of Corrections. If you spent, the amount of time that he spent incarcerated, you become well known, and clearly you all can hear how well versed he is. He's taken the time to educate himself and to rehabilitate himself while he's been incarcerated, and is now focused on trying to live a better life so that he can come back out into the world and pay homage to the victims of his crime as a youth. So any questions that you all may have for him, of course, you guys can leave in the comments, as we always do, and they will be forwarded to him. Also, if you're looking for any support, what kind of support can we look for you?
Absolutely. We're trying to hire a psychologist now so that I can get a new psych assessment. One of the coolest things is that the prison psychologists here, it seems like they are positioned to sabotage a lot of parolees. And so it's very unfortunate. You can come with all the insight and all the transformation change in the world, and they're still going to give you a high risk assessment. So in order to balance the playing field, we're trying to hire a psychologist. And so we're hoping to be able to get the funds to pretty much hire a psychologist so that they can give me a fair psych assessment. That way, or risk assessment, excuse me. That way, if it's reduced to moderate or low, I will be able to petition and come for another parole hearing so that I can come home. Because one of the things that they stressed to me is that they could not see me going home with a high risk assessment. And so, of course, I don't know how they came to conclusion, or how the psychologist came to the conclusion of giving me a high risk assessment, but
the funny thing about what he is saying is that I have spoken with, again, many people. You guys all know that this is not the first time that I've heard that there's an issue with having your psych assessment. So, like during the board process, you have to have a psych assessment done. That I've heard an issue with CDCR providing the psychiatrist, and that you say one thing in the interview and then you get to board and there's a whole nother report written that sounds like they interviewed somebody completely different. And so and it's just a cold game, to have these people assessing you when your life is on the line, and they stand to gain by keeping you there. But that's what he means by he's trying to raise funds so he can have someone assess him so that he can have a fair board hearing. So he's not asking for, an attorney or for money for a commissary. He's asking for someone, or if anyone out there knows someone or wants to donate, he just wants to have a fair psych assessment so when he goes to board, there's a fighting chance.
Absolutely.
Anything else? Oh, your book.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I would love to let everybody know that I am a published author. One of my books is called Divine Comprehension. You can order all my books on Amazon. Divine Comprehension. It's more so a book about just simple common sense, basic wisdom throughout your journey in life. My other book is called Love Torture Seductive. It's a mystery thriller. I have a collection of children's books called Sugar for My Granny. A book of quotes called Character and Ethics. So please go out and check them out. I'm quite sure you guys would love them. I know for a fact you would love Divine Comprehension and Love Torch. I really put my foot in those. So
I'm gonna go ahead and search the book links out for you guys, and I'm gonna attach them to the video. So if anybody's interested in just being of support, always think about it like this: he's a man that is incarcerated, serving his sentence, but he is taking the time to do something positive, like writing books, not causing any trouble. Also, this man has not been in trouble on the inside since 2011. So I always want to commend, people doing positive things no matter what their location is. So be supportive. Let's try to check out these books. So I'll put the links below to all of the books, the adult books and the children's books. And you guys be of support. Thank you so much for interviewing with moi. I'm sure we'll end up doing a part 2 sooner than later.
Thank you. Much appreciated. I'm humbled. I'm humbled for your initiative. I'm humbled for you just just being setting that precedent for all of us, showing us that we're not forgotten, and giving us this outlet to be able to just speak our truth. And so thank you, and humbly, just again, a trillion times thank you.
Oh, no problem. It's teamwork. Y'all are far from forgotten about. There are so many people backing me in the ventures that I have, and I know it does seem that way at times, but through me, you guys have a monster behind you. So.
Amen. Amen.
All right, y'all. So we're going to end that on this note. Thank y'all for watching. And I'll drop like all the information that you'll need to reach our brother here. And if you guys, like I said, if you want to support, reach out to me and we will link everything to where it needs to be.